Defense News. It's proudly sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. If you're a member of our nation's armed forces, the Department of Defense, or if your family is, we'd be proud to serve you too.
On this episode of Defense News Weekly, we're coming at you straight from the show floor of the Marine Corps League's Modern Day Marine Expo in Washington, D.C. We give you a roundup of the latest tech that could soon be in Marines' hands. And we get the latest update on the new Amphibious combat vehicle. Also, we delve into the big picture policy changes coming to the Marine Corps. With the latest in news and analysis from the Pentagon to the platoon, this is Defense News Weekly. Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. I'm Andrea Scott, and we're on the show floor of the Modern Day Marine Expo in Washington, D.C. One thing that always comes up at a show like Modern Day Marine is talk about how the force will fight its future battles. Anything from drones to new strike platforms to the basic composition of units and squads is on the table for conversation. Reporter Todd South was at this year's Warfighting Lab event and brings us an update about new clues on the future of the Corps.
The Marine Corps Warfighting Lab panel looked at a lot of science and technology that the Corps is going to need for future warfare and future fighting.
We have a very good understanding of the threat that's out there. Everything we do is threat-based. We know the threat, we understand the threat, we get briefed on the threat almost daily. And all our work is focused on countering the threat that's out there.
One such technology is now available on 2 different drones the Marines are currently using or will soon use, and that is terrain avoidance technology. Essentially, a drone can fly at low altitude around terrain features without a pilot. A Marine could set that route in a tablet, set it off to fly, and it could deliver cargo, run a scouting mission, look for targets, or relay communications. Those different drones, the TRV-150 and the Cayman Cargo, do different mission sets. The Cargo, of course, carries heavier loads, and one day something like this could carry even a Marine off the battlefield for medical care. The smaller drones could do site reconnaissance, look out for route planning, and help Marines on mission see what's over that next hill. The autonomous feature can take the load off the Marine and the squad by removing the need for a drone pilot. Essentially, by setting that route and putting that drone out there in the terrain, they can do other tasks while the drone takes care of the mission, and then call that back or use that drone in different ways depending on what they need for the next mission set or task assigned to them.
We're looking at everything. There's really nothing off the table, whether it's air, surface, or subsurface. There's open source efforts out there by DARPA, such as Liberty Lifter, that's interesting. A lot of the open source stuff is we're looking at it or are involved in it one way or the other. But again, nothing is off the table.
In recent years, the Marine Corps has been conducting force design, basically redesigning the force for new features and capabilities, new technologies, and new opponents or peers, such as Chinese and Russian military. A key feature of that from the very beginning that the Marine Corps wants is autonomous systems that are cheap, affordable, and disposable. Essentially, if one of these drones goes down, it doesn't end the mission, and it doesn't take out a pilot or a major aircraft like an Osprey or an F-35. By having these autonomous systems, the Marine Corps can have more Marines in different locations, see more, sense more, and do more. That's a major feature of the science and technology research, and one feature that's already reaching the field for a lot of Marines.
So we have several programs that we're working specifically on autonomy. They originated in the Marine Corps Warfighting Lab. One you'll see right around the corner here, the TRV-150, which Near Earth Autonomy has put autonomy on that platform, is now working that. It is actually handled now as a program for PMA 263. Additionally, you'll look over at Command and you'll see Cargo over there. That also is autonomy that was born out of the platform that you see behind us with Near Earth Autonomy that is in the audience has been working on that autonomy. We're also working some other potential autonomy on some surface platforms that we're working. Right now, they're just concept designs. We're working very closely with Combatant Craft and Carter Division on those platforms. So we're thinking about autonomy across the board, air, surface, and we're also working on some ground autonomy systems too, relative to vehicles that the Marine Corps Warfighting Lab has been working on for quite a few years. And we're trying to get those now into the fleet. So it's been an evolving process. As you can see, some of them are transitioning, and some of them are still in a state of maturity or mature.
That's just some of the technology here at the Modern Day Marine Expo. This is Todd South with Military Times.
And now for military headlines. Will it soon be the end of soldiers' new Army combat fitness test? As of last week, the Senate Armed Services Committee passed the Chamber's fiscal 2024 defense policy, which restores the Army's physical fitness test as the test of record. Although the bill would have a long road before becoming law, it signals powerful lawmakers' frustration with the test, which after years-long piloting and implementation periods became the official test for active duty soldiers on October 1st, 2022. The Army's top non-commissioned officer, Sergeant Major of the Army Michael Grinston, told reporters that the combat fitness test, which covers 10 components of fitness, including muscular strength, power, speed, and agility, is vastly superior to the old one, which only consisted of 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. And when we return, we get an update to the Marine Corps' Amphibious combat vehicle. BAE is producing the Marine Corps' Amphibious combat vehicle. Marine Corps Times reporter Irene Lowenson spoke with a company representative to learn more about the variants and its production.
Garrett, thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about what BAE's ACVs are useful for in general?
Yeah, so we're excited to have you here in BAE Systems booth at Modern Day Marine. We're showcasing the 2 newest members of the ACV family of vehicles, our ACV 30mm, as well as our ACV C4 UAS technical demonstrator. Both platforms are intended to provide the Marine Corps with a technology for expeditionary warfare that will provide the Marines not just with what they need for the fight today, but the fight for the future. So our ACV 30, as you can see, has a 30mm weapon station on it from Kongsberg Defense. We are actually building the first 3 production representative test vehicles being built today in York, Pennsylvania, and those will be delivered to the Marine Corps in January of 2024. The ACV C4 UAS is all about being able to demonstrate some of the latest and greatest reconnaissance and counter-reconnaissance technologies. So basically we're trying to show that anything the Marine Corps needs or can come up with, we'll be able to successfully integrate and test for them on the ACV base vehicle.
So what's the scenario in which Marines would use these 2 variants? Can you paint a picture of when the 30mm variant would be most useful, as well as the C4 UAS variant?
Yeah, so the ACV 30 is all about being able to support infantry. And so the Marine Corps will utilize this platform for that specifically. The C4 UAS tech demonstrator, we're really utilizing that to showcase those reconnaissance and counter-reconnaissance technologies, and really to be the quarterback of the battlefield. So being able to control multiple sensors and effectors, as well as any unmanned air vehicles or unmanned ground vehicles that the Marine Corps would have access to.
So I understand that this quarterback variant recently had a successful demonstration in which it showed its ability to pair with an unmanned system. Can you talk about what happened there? Yeah,
so we were able to successfully control a unmanned ground vehicle utilizing this ACV C4 UAS as the command and control platform, while the unmanned ground vehicle was actually out maneuvering and doing reconnaissance in advance of the C4 UAS.
And how do these variants, and in particular I want to highlight the C4 UAS variant, how do these variants play into the Marine Corps' modernization initiative called Force Design 2030?
So overall, the ACV family of vehicles allows the Marine Corps to get their amphibious combat mission needs accomplished. We're firm believers that anything the Marine Corps can come up with as far as technology, the outstanding base platform that the ACV provides across mobility, amphibiosity, and survivability makes it a great platform to be able to expand that family of vehicles and provide the Marine Corps the differentiating capability that they need.
How many ACVs have been fielded so far to the Marine Corps?
So BAE Systems has delivered over 200 ACVs so far, all in the personnel variant configuration, and we are continuing to deliver 7 to 8 ACVs per month.
What's the personnel variant?
So the personnel variant was the very first ACV that was designed. It holds 13 embarked Marines and is crewed by 3, a driver, a vehicle commander, and a gunner.
And what's the point of that?
So that is all about troop transport, being able to transport Marines from ship to shore and then to objective effectively, and be able to do so in a highly survivable, highly mobile, and amphibious environment.
And are these other variants also able to do that, but with additional capabilities?
Yes, so that base ACV platform is what allows it to be highly mobile, successful in the water, and also survivable. We then just take whatever mission package the Marine Corps needs, put it on top of that great base platform, and allow them to be able to accomplish their mission.
Can you give me a status update on where the various variants are in terms of production and when they're going to be delivered to the Marine Corps?
So the ACV personnel variant is in active production right now. We've delivered roughly 200 vehicles to the Marine Corps. The command and control variant, which is the second in the family, is actually being built right now and will be delivered over the next several months. The third one, which is what we're focused on today, the ACV-30, is being, those first 3 production representative test vehicles will be delivered in January of 24, go into test, and then also into fielding. And then finally, the ACV recovery is being designed and developed actively right now with the Marine Corps for future production.
And what's the purpose of the recovery variant?
Yeah, so the recovery variant is intended to be able to do higher level maintenance out in the field. So it will have a crane that's capable of moving parts, and also then a winch that will allow it to self-recover, but also recover any platforms on the battlefield.
Which could be helpful if we're thinking about more distributed operations in conditions where logistics are contested, as General Berger has discussed is probable.
The Marine Corps is always looking for opportunities to move maintenance as far forward as possible, and I can imagine that the ACV recovery will allow that.
What comes next for the amphibious combat vehicles? What if you're looking, 2 years out, what do you expect?
So I think we will continue to expand the family of vehicles into additional mission roles. As I said, this is a great base platform offering the Marine Corps all of the amphibiosity they need, the ground mobility they need, and the survivability they need. It's all about figuring out what mission packages the Marine Corps wants to put on it, and then also starting to showcase this capability to NATO partners and other allies around the world to give them the opportunity to have this outstanding capability in the ACV.
Can you give me an idea of what future variants you're considering at this point?
I think right now we are very focused on being able to showcase all of these reconnaissance and counter-reconnaissance technologies, and then we'll see where it goes in the future.
Thank you very much, Garrett. The amphibious combat vehicle has had some challenges in the last year, with numerous rollovers during training, in which no injuries were reported. The Marine Corps has now pulled the ACV from most training operations on the open ocean, and has attributed the problems mainly to operators not being quite up to speed on the differences between the ACV and its predecessor, the tracked amphibious assault vehicle. The Marine Corps has also identified some mechanical issues with the amphibious combat vehicle, notably in the shocks and in the central tire inflation system. At an update Tuesday, the Marine Corps' program manager for the ACV said that BAE Systems is working to resolve those issues. For Marine Corps Times, I'm Irene Lowenson.
Stick around. When we return, our personal finance expert gives you tips on improving your credit score. Welcome back. On this edition of Money Minute, Navy Federal Credit Union personal finance expert Jeanette Mack gives you tips on improving your credit score.
Your age and your social security number are very important numbers, but perhaps the next most important number in your life is your credit score. It's what lenders use to decide if they'll lend you money and how much they'll charge you to borrow it. So what makes up your credit score? Your payment history, how much debt you have, how long you've been a borrower, how many credit cards and loans you have, and how often you apply for credit, among other things. The maximum credit score is 850. That means you have excellent credit. To get to 850, you have to pay your bills on time, every time. Pay off your loans and credit card balances from time to time, limit how much debt you carry, and keep your debt balances lower than your maximum credit limits as much as possible. So no maxing out any credit cards, and only borrow what you can safely afford to repay, whether it's for a new TV, a car, or even your home. Keep track of your credit score to make sure your reports are accurate and your score stays on the good side. You can get your free annual report by visiting annualcreditreport.com and know your number.
Thanks, Jeanette. We'll see you next week. To get more coverage of military and defense topics, look up from that terrain map and check out Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps Times.com, as well as DefenseNews.com. And to be the sharpest K-bar in the kit bag, sign up for our Early Bird Brief newsletter, compiled each morning to bring you the latest headlines. It's also in audio. Check out the podcast version out each weekday wherever you get your podcasts. And if social media is where you get your news, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. When we return, more from Modern Day Marine. So don't go anywhere. In 2002, Becky Calder took to the skies of Afghanistan as an FA-18 pilot covering troops in need of air support. 2 years later, she attended the U.S. Navy's Fighter Weapons School, better known as Top Gun.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And I heard you just retired. Can you tell me about that?
I can. I just retired on June 1st after 25 years of service, so it's pretty exciting.
You were in the reserves. When did you join the Navy? Why did you join the Navy? Can you talk about that?
Sure. I joined the Navy as a plebe at the Naval Academy, and actually I just talked about it at my talk. It was July 2nd, 1994 is the day that I joined the military. I went to the Naval Academy, and to be honest, the only reason that I joined the military was basketball. So I wanted to play Division I basketball, and the Naval Academy recruited me, and I said yes.
So to go from just wanting to play basketball and then the rigor of being a fighter pilot, why did you go that track?
So I went to the Naval Academy to play basketball, and obviously when you go there, you have to select something for your service assignment, and it was actually a mentor of mine. He was the deputy commandant of the academy at the time, and his name was Colonel Bolden, and he was a huge fan of women's basketball, and he came to the court one day at practice, and I mean, no kidding, he looked at me and he said, "Becky, you would make a great F-18 pilot." And at that time, the combat exclusion law had just been lifted for women. So this wasn't something that I sought out to do or something that I had always thought I wanted to do. And he really encouraged me, and I remember that day, and I selected aviation, and then through flight school, I selected F-18s, and kind of my career just kind of took off.
What was it like at that time being one of the first female fighter pilots in the Navy?
That's a great question. There still today is not that many women that fly F-18s or really fly any aircraft in the military. I think that, you know, we all have our own unique experiences, and for me, when I was in flight school, I had a few other women, and I was just focusing on finishing flight school. And then I got to my first squadron, and there was 2 women actually that joined the squadron at the same time, and then the war started. So there was never a focus on, you know, who are the girls in the squadron. It was a focus on doing our job and fighting the war and being the best pilots we could be, providing the best support we could provide for the troops and the soldiers and sailors and Marines on the ground. So that's what I focused on, and I never really thought about the gender aspect of what I did or what my job was. And I just made sure that I was the best pilot I could be, that I was credible, that I was capable.
So you deployed pretty early on in your career.
I did. I joined my first squadron in 2001, so right before 9/11, and then we deployed in 2002. So I believe we were the second carrier to deploy after the war started. And then I did a whole deployment over there, in 2002, and then right after that is when I went to Top Gun, and then did another deployment after that as well.
So what was it like flying your F-18 on that first deployment?
My first deployment was challenging. It was a very serious deployment. We were the second carrier to deploy after the war started, and I think we were all just focused on doing our mission and making sure we were doing it safely and effectively so that we could provide the support that the troops on the ground needed.
All right, and you were the first female pilot graduate of the Navy's Top Gun program. Can you talk about that?
Sure, I was. I went through Top Gun in 2004, and I knew it was something that I wanted to do after my first deployment. And so I applied for it and was selected, and that was a true honor to be selected. I was truly focused on just being the best pilot I could be, and for me, that meant going to Top Gun. There were some tactics and procedures that I knew I wanted to help develop, and Top Gun is where those tactics are developed. And so it was clear to me that I wanted to go to Top Gun. I had a great experience at Top Gun. It's an incredible school. It is where you truly learn to be the best at your craft, which for me was flying an F-18. You learn to be an instructor. You are just really taught how to be an instructor. It's a humbling course, and it was a great experience.
And I think the question a lot of us want to know is, how does the Navy's Top Gun compare to the movies?
That is a great question, and one that I have gotten a lot, especially since the new movie came out. I think the new movie did a great job of sort of showcasing the Navy's capability in the F-18. The flying scenes were real in the movie, and the Top Gun, it's hard to equate that. It's very different to what Top Gun is, but I do think it was a great movie, and my family and I enjoyed seeing it. But the flying scenes were real. It's exciting.
Am I allowed to ask, what was your call sign?
My call sign is Sam because my last name was Adams, and now it's Calder, and I kept Sam. You keep your call sign, so.
Were there any scary moments when you were flying, or anything during your deployments or career that you want to talk about?
During my first deployment, I was a brand new F-18 pilot. I had just joined the squadron. I guess it was less than a year before we went on deployment, and during that deployment, we did have to do some things that were hard, that were scary, that we weren't trained for. But I credit the other pilots in my squadron. I credit our training program, our training officer, and we made it through that deployment. And we just did the best that we could, and we hope that we provided the support that the troops on the ground needed.
So sometimes we hear about pilot shortages in the military. What would you say to aspiring pilots, especially maybe aspiring female pilots who want to go down that road?
We do hear about pilot shortage and really retention in all of the services. And I would just encourage people, if you have any inkling, if there's an idea in you, in your heart, in your mind that you want to serve, then do it. Serving the country for me was the greatest career that I could have had. It's my honor. It was challenging. It was exciting. And literally, it was something that I didn't know that I wanted to do. But if there are people that know that they want to be a pilot, just go for it. There are so many programs. I was actually talking to some young people today, and they said, what can I do to be a pilot? There are so many programs and scholarships that are out there to start your journey, to learn to fly, and to help you get a step ahead if that's what you want to do. And we need people, we need good people, we need pilots, we need officers, and I say go for it.
After you graduated Top Gun, what was the rest of your career trajectory with the Navy?
After Top Gun, I was still active duty for a few more years, and then I joined the Navy Reserves. So I spent the last 10 years in the Navy Reserves, and I just retired on June 1st, so it was pretty exciting.
And what is next for you?
Next for me, that is a loaded question. Right now, I would say the hardest thing that I'm doing is trying to raise two humans that are incredible, and I'm so proud of them. I have two children, Tyler and Charlotte. So they are 11 and 12. We just moved to Reno. My husband also just retired. And so he is starting a new career, and I'm actually in the middle of a PhD program studying leadership. So I'm hoping to finish my PhD, to be a somewhat successful parent, and just see what happens.
Do you still fly at all?
I don't. I haven't flown since my daughter, actually. So I stopped flying after I had kids. So I miss it. I was jealous of my husband that he got to fly for his whole 26 years. I do miss it.
And you guys met, was he also in the Navy?
He was in the Navy, and super cheesy, we met at Top Gun.
No beach scene story? Or?
No, not at all.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
And that's all we have time for this week. Please visit us on militarytimes.com and defensenews.com for more coverage. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.